Imagine a land so ancient that its history stretches back over 5,000 years, a place where kings ruled before the pyramids were built, where invention, philosophy, and power shaped the course of the world. This is the story of China, a civilization that rose, fell, and rose again, time after time, until it became the powerhouse we know today. Our story begins along the banks of the Yellow River, known as the cradle of Chinese civilization. Around 2100 BCE, small farming villages evolved into early kingdoms, leading to what many consider China's first dynasty, the Xia dynasty. Though shrouded in legend, the Xia marks the beginning of organized rule, and the idea of the mandate of heaven, the belief that rulers were chosen by divine approval, but could lose it if they governed unjustly. Following the Xia came the Shang dynasty. Around 1600 BCE, the Shang gave China its earliest written language, cast magnificent bronze weapons, and built walled cities, signs of an advanced and ambitious society. But power shifts easily in China's long story, and soon the Zhou dynasty would rise, lasting nearly 800 years, the longest in Chinese history. The Zhou expanded the concept of the mandate of heaven, introducing it as the moral backbone of Chinese politics for centuries to come. Yet as noble families grew powerful, the empire splintered into chaos, a time known as the Warring States period, where rival kingdoms fought endlessly for dominance. From that chaos, a single man would forge unity: Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. In 221 BCE, he conquered all rival states and founded the Qin dynasty, giving the nation its very name, China. He standardized currency, language, and even the width of cart axles to ensure roads aligned across the empire. He also began constructing what would become the Great Wall of China, a defense against northern invaders. But his reign was as brutal as it was visionary, obsessed with immortality. Qin Shi Huang demanded vast tombs guarded by his terracotta army. His dynasty lasted just 15 years, but his legacy, a unified China, would endure forever. When the Qin dynasty collapsed, China descended once again into turmoil, but from the ashes rose one of the most powerful and influential empires in human history, the Han dynasty. Founded in 206 BCE, the Han would rule for over 4 centuries, defining what it meant to be Chinese. Under the Han, art, science, and technology flourished. Paper was invented. The compass took form. Trade expanded across vast lands, connecting China to Europe through the Silk Road, a 4,000-mile network that carried silk, spices, and ideas between East and West. For the first time, China became truly global. Han emperors governed with Confucian principles, a philosophy centered on respect, morality, and order. It shaped Chinese culture for the next 2,000 years, from family life to politics. But as wealth grew, corruption followed, and the mighty Han began to crumble. B. 220 CE. Rebellions tore the empire apart, ushering in an age of warlords and division. For nearly 400 years, China was fragmented. Dynasties rose and fell, kingdoms clashed, and nomadic tribes invaded from the north. Yet, from chaos, a new vision emerged. In 581 CE, the Sui dynasty briefly reunified the land, constructing the monumental Grand Canal, connecting the Yellow and Yangtze rivers, a feat that revolutionized trade and agriculture. But it was short-lived. Harsh rule and endless wars led to rebellion, paving the way for the Tang dynasty, which would usher in a golden age of prosperity, culture, and innovation. The Tang dynasty, 618 to 907 CE, was a time when China became the most advanced and cosmopolitan empire on earth. Its capital, Chang'an, modern Xi'an, was the world's largest city, a hub of poetry, science, art, and trade, where merchants from Persia, India, and Arabia mingled in the streets. Under Emperor Taizong, and later Empress Wu Zishan, China's only female emperor, the empire expanded deep into Central Asia. Literature thrived, with poets like Li Biandu Fu writing verses still recited today. Buddhism spread widely, blending with Taoist and Confucian traditions to create a rich spiritual tapestry. The Temps perfected porcelain, advanced printing, and revolutionized art and fashion. Yet prosperity came with instability. By the late 9th century, rebellions and corruption weakened the empire, and in 907 CE, the Dynasty dynasty fell, plunging China once again into division. But China's story was far from over. From the ashes of the Temps, new powers would emerge: warriors on horseback, emperors of foreign blood, and a dynasty that would build the world's most famous monument to Indo. After the fall of the Temps, China entered another period of chaos, but out of that disorder rose a dynasty unlike any before. The Song dynasty. Founded in 960 CE, the Song ruled with intellect, not brute force. It was an age of scholars, scientists, and artists, a time when culture and technology soared to unprecedented heights. The Song dynasty gave the world gunpowder weapons, movable type printing, magnetic compasses, and paper money inventions that reshaped global history. Cities like Kafang and Hangzhou bustled with life. Markets overflowed with goods, and literacy spread across classes. For the first time, China became not only the most populous empire on earth, but also the most technologically advanced. Art flourished. Landscape painting reached new heights of realism and emotion, capturing misty mountains and tranquil rivers that mirrored the soul of China itself. But as the Song focused inward on knowledge and culture, danger brewed on the northern steppes. In the 13th century, a storm from the steppes descended upon China. The Mongols, led by the unstoppable Genghis Khan and later his grandson, Kublai Khan. By 1279, after decades of brutal warfare, the Mongols conquered the Song and established the Yuan dynasty, marking the first time all of China was ruled by a foreign power. Kublai Khan moved the capital to what is now Beijing and opened China to the wider world like never before. Traders, scholars, and explorers flooded in among them. The Venetian traveler Marco Polo, who would later describe China as a land of unimaginable wealth and sophistication. Under Mongol rule, the empire connected east and west through the Silk Road, promoting cultural exchange and innovation. But resentment grew among the Chinese, who saw the Mongols as outsiders. Corruption spread, natural disasters struck, and by the mid-1300s, rebellion flared once again. From the uprising of peasants and patriots emerged one of China's most iconic dynasties. The Ming Dynasty, founded in 1368 by Zhu Yuanzhang, a former monk who became Emperor Hong. Determined to restore Chinese greatness, the Ming rebuilt cities, reformed agriculture, and reinforced the Confucian order. It was during the Ming era that China constructed and expanded the Great Wall we know today, not just as defense, but as a symbol of unity and endurance. Meanwhile, under the command of the legendary admirals, enormous treasure fleets sailed across the Indian Ocean, reaching as far as Africa, decades before Columbus ever crossed the Atlantic. The Ming Dynasty represented China at its most confident and artistic. Porcelain, calligraphy, architecture, and literature reached dazzling new levels. Yet, over time, internal corruption, isolationist policies, and pressure from the north eroded its strength. By the mid-1600s, peasant uprisings and Manchu invasions brought the Ming era to an end. But once again, China would rise under a new and powerful dynasty from beyond the Great Wall. Next, the Qing Dynasty to modern China Empire, revolution, and rebirth. When the Ming Dynasty collapsed in 1644, power passed to the Manchus, a nomadic people from beyond the Great Wall. They founded the Qing Dynasty, the last imperial dynasty of China, and one of the most complex and powerful in its history. Under early Qing emperors like Kangxi and Qianlong, China experienced immense growth and stability. Its borders expanded to their greatest extent, reaching Tibet, Xinjiang, Mongolia, and Taiwan. The arts flourished, trade with Europe boomed, and China's population exploded to over 300 million. The Qing ruled with a mix of Confucian, tradition, and Manchu discipline, maintaining balance between innovation and control. Yet, beneath the splendor, tension was building between a proud empire and a rapidly changing world. By the 1800s, Western powers began to knock on China's door, And they didn't come peacefully. British merchants flooded China with opium, sparking addiction and social collapse. When the Qing tried to stop the trade, the First Opium War, 1839 to 1842, broke out, ending in defeat and humiliation. China was forced to sign unequal treaties, ceding Hong Kong to Britain and opening its ports to foreign control. Over the next decades, rebellions like the Taiping Rebellion, one of the deadliest civil wars in history, tore the empire apart. Each conflict chipped away at Qing authority. Western imperialism, corruption, and internal decay transformed China from a global superpower into a nation struggling to survive. By the early 1900s, calls for reform turned into revolution. Intellectuals and revolutionaries inspired by Western ideas and traditional Chinese pride sought to rebuild the nation. In 1911, after over 2,000 years of imperial rule, the Qing dynasty fell, ending the monarchy forever. Sun Yat-sen emerged as a revolutionary leader, founding the Republic of China and envisioning a nation built on freedom and unity. But chaos continued. Warlords divided the land. Japan invaded during World War II, and civil war erupted between nationalists and communists. By 1949, Mao Zedong and the Communist Party emerged victorious, founding the People's Republic of China, the dawn of a new era. The early decades of Communist China were turbulent. From the Great Leap Forward to the Cultural Revolution, millions suffered under rapid and often disastrous change. Yet by the late 20th century, China began to open to the world again. Under leaders like Deng Xiaoping, economic reforms transformed the nation. From a rural, impoverished country, China evolved into a global superpower, blending socialism with market innovation. Skyscrapers replaced farmlands, bullet trains crossed the country, and cities like Shanghai, Beijing, and Shenzhen became symbols of unstoppable growth. Today, China stands as one of the most influential nations on Earth, a country balancing its 5,000-year legacy with modern ambition. The story of China is a story of resilience, of unity, forged through chaos, wisdom passed through centuries, and a people who never stopped rebuilding. From ancient emperors to modern skyscrapers, from Silk Roads to digital revolutions, China's journey is proof that civilizations don't fade. Y evolve. If you found this journey through China's history fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because history is never just the past, it's the story that shapes our future.